Hello, everyone. I want to let you know, I mentioned a little bit in my last video, but throughout the world, we are in a time that's called, the Holy Father has called us to a time of Eucharistic revival. And the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops has prepared a whole program for Eucharistic revival here in the United States. And I want to outline that for you, and then I want to talk about one issue for our parish that I think is very important. The theme that the United States Conference Catholic Bishops came up with is created anew by the body and blood of Christ, source of our healing and our hope. And the whole purpose is enkindling a living relationship with Jesus Christ in the Eucharist. And I think this is very, very important. It's something for us to focus on. Their plan is a 3-year program beginning last June 2022 and going through June of 2024. And in 2024, there will be a National Eucharistic Congress on July 17th to the 21st in Indianapolis, Indiana. And that's something to put on your calendars, maybe to even think about going if you've never been to a Eucharistic Congress. I think it's very, very important. In their plan, from June 2022 to June 2023, we focus in the diocese, and then the next year is a parish focus, and I will be working with the staff and planning on how we do that here. In my last video, though, as I talked a little about it, I talked about how we prioritize God in our life. And in doing so, I especially talked about the Mass and whether we think it's important to be at Mass. And if it is, do we come late or leave early? And especially to think about, okay, what does that say to the people around you? What does it say to your family, even to your children? Does it say, I have more important things to do, so I'll just squeeze Mass in? Or I can't wait to leave? I think it's really, really important that we consider those issues. The Second Vatican Council said that Eucharist is the source and the summit of all Catholic life. And I think we're beginning to lose that. It's becoming a bit routine. It's becoming normal. Like there's something normal about Christ going through his passion, death, and resurrection for us, or feeding us with his body and blood and allowing us to participate in his passion, death, and resurrection, which is what Eucharist is. Today, I really want to focus on something that's a real concern of mine and for the staff. And we've actually been talking about for a while, but it's a sensitive subject. And I've been praying about how to say it and how to bring it to you in a way that makes sense. And this Eucharistic revival just opens up the opportunity for that. But I want to talk about communion and receiving communion. Why are we talking about this? Why is it a big deal? In my 39 years of priesthood, I have never I've never been told by staff members or ministers in our church of the Eucharist, the host, being found in the pews as much as it has in my 3.5 years here. In other words, 3.5 years here, and I've heard it more and more and more, that our janitors or other people, sometimes the Eucharistic ministers, we find the host, the body and blood of our Lord Jesus Christ, soul and divinity, laying on the floor in the pew. Or, in the worst case even, stuck in some gum under the pew. my brothers and sisters, that's sacrilege. That is serious sin. And I think I have, as your pastor, I have to make that real clear. The hosts should never be taken out into the pews except by a commissioned Eucharistic minister. No one else can take the host back. That's very, very important. That we've seen people, it's been reported to me, that they've seen people taking the host back, breaking off a piece and putting it in a baby's mouth or a little child's mouth. That's sacrilege. I understand what you want, but it is not proper. It is not right. And it is not respect for the Blessed Sacrament. Very, very important. The same thing with taking it home. We have home ministers. We have people who take communion to the sick, to those who are confined to their homes. But only commissioned Eucharistic ministers who have been trained to take it home for the sick can do that. Everybody can't just grab the host and take it home. That's not right. In fact, it's serious sin. And so, my brothers and sisters, I really want us to know that as I've talked to the staff, we've decided we'll be talking to our Eucharistic ministers. Those of you that receive communion in the hand, and that's most of you, a couple of things to remember. One, you are to receive communion, not take communion. Place your hands out and allow and receive it. Don't reach out and grab it. That's really important. It sounds silly to some people, but think of the theology of it. I am receiving the body and blood of Christ. I'm not taking it. I'm not grabbing it. It's not mine to have. You know? It's a gift. It's a gift, my brothers and sisters. And so, very, very important that we understand that. The other thing that is, whether we receive, well, especially in the hand, but on the tongue too, when you receive it, you stay in front of the minister until you have consumed it. In other words, you don't receive it and start walking away, and while you're going back to your pew, start taking it. You receive it in front of the minister. And ministers are being trained to watch for that and actually maybe stop you. Ushers are going to be watching for that. So please, my brothers and sisters, please reverence the body and blood, soul and divinity of our Lord Jesus Christ in communion and receiving communion. I'm very moved all the time to see people coming up, and before they step up to me to receive, you see people bowing their heads or even genuflecting. Those people understand the awesomeness of what's happening. We are receiving that gift that God has given us. The body, blood, soul, and divinity. The passion, death, and resurrection of Christ. We're participating in it again because Christ is doing it again on the altar. And so, very, very important to see what's happening, understand what's happening, reflect on what's happening, and take the Holy Mass very seriously. And then, when we can do that ourselves, then we are teaching our children as well. We're teaching our children, yes, in word, but more importantly, we're teaching them by our actions. And that's what's critical. It's one thing to speak something, but if they don't see it in our actions, it goes in one ear and out the other. So, my brothers and sisters, please let us be careful. If my brothers and sisters, you do see someone taking the Blessed Sacrament back to the pew, a couple of things you can do. One, you can politely remind them that that's forbidden and a sin. And if they have a problem with that, to talk to one of the priests after Mass, because it is serious sin. politely tell them. Secondly, you can go to an usher and tell the usher that this person, that was in front of you did this. And the usher will politely tell them, and invite them to talk to the priest afterwards. We're not out to punish people. We're out to enrich and enliven their experience of the Eucharist. As the United States Catholic bishop said, we want to enkindle a living relationship with Jesus Christ in our reception of the Eucharist. I hope you understand how important this is to me, and not just to me, but to our staff especially. I know there's been a number of times we've talked about it at staff meetings, and always I'm frustrated and trying to figure out how to bring it to you in a way that's a teaching, but that isn't criticizing you as people, but teaching you that you can better understand, or that we can enkindle that living relationship in you. And of course, this Eucharistic revival that we are in for the next 3 years, or 2.5 now, that we are in, gives a great opportunity. During probably the next year or so, I will be occasionally doing a video concerned with the Eucharist. Not all the time. In fact, the next one I do is going to be on a different subject, but I will be doing, especially, I would say, there is a book by Joseph Cardinal Ratzinger, who of course became Pope Benedict XVI. He wrote this even before he was called to the Vatican to work. It's called The Spirit of the Liturgy. It's not a super easy book to read, but it is very readable. And I invite you to go on Amazon or go down to King's House on McDowell Road and get a copy of it. It is just to work through it. I've read it 2 or 3 times, and will be reading it again, and probably sharing some quotes from it with you throughout the next 1.5 years. So, my brothers and sisters, this is the source and summit of our life. And the reason why I'm probably talking passionately, but the reason why I'm bringing it to you now in such a way is I want it to be bigger, more powerful in your life. The more we open ourselves to the Blessed Sacrament, to Jesus Christ present in the Eucharist, the more the craziness of the life around us becomes bearable. My brothers and sisters, please, this is something to pray about, think about, talk about in your family. And let's all of us, and I'm talking about me too, all of us, let's renew ourselves in this Eucharistic celebration. And maybe even consider, and maybe something we'll talk about, is having a group from the parish go to that Eucharistic Congress. But let's make it a big deal. For my brothers and sisters, there is no bigger deal for Catholics in our life. God bless you all. Thank you very much. Goodbye.